Hello, my name is Emma Tobias, and I have new bookshelves. Insert clip of the bookshelves. For the past few months, all of my books have been living in the landing of our house in front of my room because I didn't like my bookshelves anymore and I wanted to get new ones. I'd had those probably since middle school, so I'm very happy to have these now. They're quite nice and they're quite proper bookshelves, which I like a lot. And it's nice to have all my books in one place. It's quite nice. I can definitely talk about the organization at some point if any of you guys care. If not, we will never speak of it again. So, I just got back from the UK, I'm meaning like a week ago. Insert clips of the UK.
Be careful what you wish for.
Really? Okay. And it was really great. I was there for a month. I hung out with a lot of booktubers. If you haven't seen my last video, it's super weird, but it's a collaboration I did with Emma from Drinking by My Shelf, where we drank wine and tried to do an ASMR video, and it was a fail, and also, I think, kind of funny. I did another video with her, a collab video that should be coming out whenever I finish editing it. But today I thought I would show you guys the books I got in England / in America. Just sort of a general summer book haul. I am here, and I'm going to talk about these books before I, prattle on too much. Is that a word, prattle? I think it is. Okay, so the first three books I want to talk about, and this is in no particular order, it's just the way that I have them stacked, are books that I got in Persephone Books. Persephone Books is a publisher / bookstore. Persephone Books publishes domestic novels that were, out of print or had very small runs, both American and British and other countries as well, but primarily American and British. And it's this lovely little bookstore. I went there with Emma and I just couldn't help myself. I bought 3. There was a deal, so I had to get 3. Yeah, so the first one I got is Reuben Sachs by Amy Levy. This was blurbed. Oh, another thing that's really cool about Persephone is all their covers have this gray, like very aesthetic gray cover, and on the inside, the end flaps are quite cool and interesting. But anyway, this was billed as a Jewish Pride and Prejudice, so I think that's really interesting. She was a contemporary, Amy Levy, of, I believe, Jane Austen, and a friend of Oscar, maybe not, maybe I have dates completely wrong. I believe she was a friend of Oscar Wilde, and it combines some of Oscar Wilde's wit with Jane Austen's wit, and that kind of a comedy of manners, or drama of manners, but it's set in a Jewish household, so I think that's very interesting. I also got Diary of a Provincial Lady by E.M. Delafield. This is a book I started reading on the tube one day. It's not super exciting, but basically it is a diary of a lady, and it's funny and sort of interesting and strange. I'm enjoying it. It's a bit boring, but I'm enjoying it, so hopefully I'll get more into it the more I read. And then this has something on it, which is a shame. I'm gonna have to clean this book. That's what happens when you fly 8 hours home. And that's The Crowded Street by Winifred Holt B. I don't remember what this one is about in the slightest. I believe it's about a single mother, but I could be wrong. But I remember thinking it sounded interesting. Okay, moving on. This is the book I got in America, and that is The Price Guide to the Occult by Leslie Walton. I want to say Monica from Monica Watson talk about this, but it's basically about a magical book, and this book starts to do something kind of weird. I believe it starts to give people like tattoos of ferns. So it sounds interesting. The book is very pretty. I found it at, I think, like a Target, which is surprising. Sounds good, sounds interesting, sounds like a fun kind of magical summer read. Brief interlude, had to turn the mirror around, so let's keep going. This is a book that I got with a bunch of other books that my mom and I decided to share, and that is The End of Mr. Y by Scarlett Thomas. Also started this book, not very far into it. Basically, it's about an academic, a grad student in academia, who is struggling with her thesis, struggling with her life, and she finds this very rare book that is supposedly cursed, and it happens to be a book that has to do with her thesis. So it's basically about that, among other things. Apparently there is love, sex, death, and time travel. So what could go wrong with that? Also quite like this cover, it's really interesting. Another book that I did not get in the UK, and that is Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is a middle grade. I found it at a Walmart. I didn't find it, I bought it at a Walmart. And this basically, I don't know what it's about. I think it's about something fun. I don't like to read, weirdly, the synopses of middle grade because I tend to talk myself out of reading them. So I don't know why, it just, I'm like, this is gonna be really twee, and I'm not gonna like it. But, this looks fun. I've heard good things. We shall see. Next, another book I did not get in the UK, but that is The Finishing School by Muriel Spark. I got this at a thrift store for very, very cheap. Oh no, I got this at a used bookstore for $3. I had all the store credit and I bought a $3 book. I read The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie last year during Booktubeathon, and I really, really liked it for all of its problems. And I'm excited about The Finishing School. It sounds interesting. I think it's about a professor and his wife and a student, and it's gonna probably be like, ooh, but also like, that's kind of interesting, which is what I think Muriel Spark does very well. Another book I bought in America is Hey Harry, Hey Matilda by Rachel Houlihan. This is a book that's written in letters between a brother and a sister, and I think it's about their lives and sharing their lives. I like the cover. It's very aesthetic and nice. Back to books I bought in England. I got The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jen Campbell. I have never read a book by Jen Campbell, despite the fact that she seems like a great writer from her booktube videos. But I found this at a charity shop in England, and I was like, well, I have to get it. It's a beautiful book. I believe it's short stories. I'm quite excited. Connected to Jen Campbell, and she's mentioned quite often in this book, which I've already read, and that is The Diary of a Bookseller by Sean Bythell. This is a real-life account of a man who runs a used bookstore in Scotland, and I believe is friends with Jane Campbell. He mentions her a few times. So I quite like this one. I'm going to talk about it in a wrap-up review thing very, very soon. Next is a book that I got in America, but I read it in the UK, and that is Royals by Rachel Hawkins. I love Rachel Hawkins. I've read 2 of the 3 Rebel Belle books in the Rebel Belle series, and I've read the entire Hexhall series many times because it's so cute. But Royals is about a fictional world where there's a prince and king of Scotland, and there's this girl she's a Floridian, and her older sister is marrying the Prince of Scotland, future King of Scotland, and it's about her dealing with that. And I read it during the royal wedding, or around the time the royal wedding was happening, so it felt very timely, and I also really enjoyed it. Also talk about that in a wrap-up soon. Actually talk about it. Okay, so 2 books that I got from a publicity event I went to with Emma from Drinking by My Shelf. She works for Book Break, which you should definitely subscribe to. I will link down below. Which is Pan Macmillan's British booktube YouTube channel, and she very kindly invited me to a publicity event for these 2 books, and I went and we did flower arranging at the London Flower School, and it was very, very cool. So I have The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart by Holly Ringland. This author wasn't at the event, but one of her book was being launched, as well as this author who was at the event, which is On a Beautiful Day by Lucy Diamond. I don't know anything about this book by Holly Ringland, but I do know about Lucy Diamond. Her books, she has a pseudonym, by this is her pseudonym. I think that's probably fairly obvious. I don't remember her real name, which is bad. But I quite enjoy women's fiction, British women's fiction. I like Sophie Kinsella. I like that kind of thing. I've read a lot of Jenny Colgan books, and I've heard good things about Lucy Diamond, so I will read that soon. Speaking of books that I hope surprise me, and so far are kind of surprising me, that's Wild Like Me by Louise Pentland. I'm a big fan of Louise Pentland. If you don't know who she is, she's Sprinkle of Glitter here on YouTube. I really, really like her YouTube channel. I like what she brings to the world. And this is her book, and she has another one coming out soon. but this is a women's fiction that's pretty fairly, I think, based on her life, but not completely, obviously, taken from her life at times. I've started this book, and I'm surprised by it. Like, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, which sounds really awful, but I just sort of assumed the worst. But I think she does character so far very well. The writing syntax-wise that was bad syntax. The writing, technically, isn't great, but I think it catches a feeling that's nice. So now we're getting to my favorite books that I bought when I was in England, and this probably doesn't even cover, I feel like I'm missing books. The next one is Lucy Worsley's Jane Austen at Home. Lucy Worsley is this amazing historian. She's fantastic. She does a lot of TV shows, like specials about history. And she did one about Jane Austen a couple years ago that I watched that I really, really liked, and this is the actual research that she did for that, or the book that came from that. And I'm very excited to read it because I like learning about Jane Austen's life, and this is about Jane Austen's life, so I'm excited about it. And I also really like Lucy Worsley. She's very accessible, which I enjoy. Next we have Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. Speaking of Jane Austen, I went to Shakespeare & Company in Paris, which was a dream, and of course I wanted to buy a book that I'd already read. I really wanted to buy Emma by Jane Austen, which is my favorite book, but the copies they had didn't really excite me. For some reason I thought Shakespeare & Company was a used bookstore, which it sort of is, but it mostly had new books, despite the fact that I was obsessed with a novel called Time Was Soft There by Jeremy Mercer, all about Shakespeare & Company, and I didn't know that. So I got this really cool illustrated copy of Pride and Prejudice, a book that I've been meaning to reread because I haven't read it in like years and years and years. Next, we have The Grip of Film by Richard Ayoade. I love Richard Ayoade. I have his first book here, which was so funny, if I can get it out. His first book is Ayoade on Ayoade, and they go together quite well. This book is a sort of satirical look about film criticism and sort of the pretentious way that people talk about films, and I believe this is also a film criticism book parody that's about sort of action movies, which is really, really cool. I really like his writing. He's super funny, and I was very excited to find this. And then the last book I got here in America a couple days ago, and that is Save the Date by Morgan Matson. I love Morgan Matson. I think she writes the best books about summertime and friendship and really sweet romances, but I love her books about, specifically when she talks about friendship, but also I love a good cute romance. So yeah, I was so excited to get this finally, and very, very happy. Very, very happy. And it's signed, which is super cool. Yay, Target, for having this. So that is my summer book haul. Do you guys have any thoughts about any of those books? Let me know. Alright, I'm gonna go finish The Cruel Prince. And hopefully when I do my wrap-up video, I can talk about The Cruel Prince. Alright, bye.